Was the is it weird that people don't revolt during hyperinflation? This was one from Stack Harder. He was talking about the hard-boiled egg index, and let me see if I can share this one here. So this is the one that's about this book. I'm gonna check it out. He has it on Amazon, but it's about the Zimbabwe hyperinflation and how people survived it. He said it's a short read, that it's not that long, so right up my alley. But he talks about just how like people basically just they just they kind of just like hype they just inflated away the just the debt, and they had to reintroduce like this new currency, and just about the devaluation of everything, and just the increasing prices of everything. And I just thought it was super fascinating, and I want to check it out. But it's all in relation to what's going on here in the States. And he was just kind of talking about like what happens, or why haven't people revolted yet. And he was asking the stackers, and the top comment was from AKG. He said there are many factors that influence this, one of them being education. He said, I'm from Venezuela, currently mirrored in a narco dictatorship, and not to mention its shocking hyperinflation. He says, currently, if their humiliated currency bolivars were to have the zeros they've removed to supposedly disguise or hide the devaluation added to it, it would be something like this. And then he has, I don't know if that's like, what is that, 1 quadrillion? That would be the
Yeah.
figure. He goes, and no one cares or rebels because they're ignorant of what's happening. Very few have basic education, much less someone to teach them financial education or even what Bitcoin is. Something regrettable, but that's how it is. Um, and Crew was the second one. He says people don't even revolt during the 2020-2021 lockdowns. So it's obvious that humanity is either entirely composed of two categories: evil tyrants or evil NPCs who obey them, good people who were eliminated through evolutionary natural selection at some point in the past. Yeah, what do you think it is? I think it's more of like a boiling frog type of thing that Crypto Sensei says. I think it's more like people just get boiled slowly over decades. And I actually think it takes like one, child to get like, hurt or something before people actually really revolt. I think that's what it takes. Is like somebody of like something that like actually hurts everybody. Like, some innocent lamb, I think that's what causes revolutionary change, you could say.
Uh, yeah, I actually don't. So I think what happens in most of these cases is that the government effectively denies blame, or like they avoid getting blamed for inflation like this. So, and instead, what happens is a populist leader rises and points everyone's attention externally rather than internally toward the government where it
Hmm.
maybe belongs for inflation. And so that's why the decline of empire is usually associated with war. Is there's a lot of tension building up inside of countries when they're having rampant inflation and there are economic problems. And so what the leaders begin doing is, sort of blaming other countries for these problems going on inside of it. And then we go to war with those countries. And so I think that's, basic, there's a revolt. A revolt is like sort of internal, and a war is like an external revolt. It's We're scapegoating. We're scapegoating another country for the problems we created on our own. So I think that's why we don't see hyperinflationary revolts. I mean, you can look at like Weimar, the Weimar Republic, and hyperinflation there, and that's basically what led to Hitler. More, it was the inflation that happened in Germany post World War One, and then you have, I don't know what happened in Zimbabwe, but I would guess likely there was an external conflict around the time that they hyperinflated. But I don't know. I haven't. Maybe this book would let us know.
Yeah. How do you think it's going to play out here in the States? We
Uh,
haven't had one of these talks in a while.
Yeah.
or you just
Well,
kind of you don't know yet. It's too early.
it's pretty early, but I think we go to war with China eventually. I think that's pretty much the crash course that we're on right now. I don't. We're already in a trade war with them. Maybe war. Maybe we don't have much of a kinetic war anymore. Maybe it's all information war. Maybe it's, we're sending drones, fleets of drones at each other, and they're blowing each other up over the oceans or something. But I suspect that's what happens. That's usually what happens. We went to war with Britain when we took over empire from them. Uh, but China will go to war with us to take empire
Who
from
would be
us.
our allies though if we went to war with China though? Because I guess China would I guess China and this and the Soviet or the Russia would be allies, wouldn't they?
Yep. China's basically been making allies around the world for the last century, almost in preparation for this moment where, they're building, rather than like going to war in other countries, they're building roads and infrastructure for them. I forget what it's called, but it's like something someone wrote about it a while ago, but it's like the Silk Road 2.0 more or less, where they're going around and
Yeah.
building roads all through Latin America. And so China's allies are basically everyone except for the United States and Europe, but we're not really exactly friendly with Europe at the moment, and maybe that gets
Yeah.
worse, maybe it gets better, I don't know.
I
But
think we have I think we have really hard times ahead in America, like in the next 3 to 5 years, like really hard times. I'm not talking about just like, talking about like really hard times ahead. And
mm,
I think the sign was so the Pope's American, and before all this, everybody was saying that there's just no way the Pope will be American, just because it just would never happen. Like it would. I mean, obviously Pope Francis was from Latin America, but like an actual American, United States American. Um, like I think that's a sign that we have like some really hard times ahead, and I don't. Yeah, 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 I think you're right. Maybe there is like some really hard times coming for us. I just don't. Um, yeah, I just I'll just be I'm just really yeah, I'm just really surprised that that no one's kind of sounding the alarm on this kind of stuff yet. I don't want to scare people, but um, it's coming.
I don't
You can kind of feel it in a lot of ways. I don't know.
I don't really agree. I don't agree that it'll be. I mean, if you look at the past situations where the empire is handed off, and there are these like economic problems and stuff, it's usually not super bad. It's bad for 10-20% of the population, which is horrible that anything happened to them at all. But most of the world, life goes on, and people in beef was B-57 was in uh, Venezuela getting gasoline, and they had a bunch of crap go. They've had crap for decades there. It's been they've been having tons of problems there forever, or not forever, but for a very long time. And life still goes on. You can still fill up your car with gasoline. There were a lot of modern cars in that line in that video.
No, I
Um,
mean I don't mean like that. I just mean like I think military bases. I think more like China and will be fighting America just with drones. I think there'll be more drone to drone type of combat. And I can just see America losing a lot of military bases across the world. I don't think we're gonna be the military powerhouse like we once were. I can see that happen is what I'm kind of saying.
yeah,
Like I
that's not
do
too
think
doomy. That's
I don't know,
just it's
man.
just change.
That's a lot of American lives lost if that happens. That's kind of where
Well,
I'm coming from. I'm not saying like oh we're not gonna have groceries or something like that. I'm saying like lives, like human lives are gonna be lost. That's kind of where I'm coming from.
hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.